Hi, Anti-Society. Welcome back to the Antisocial Planet. Today we're checking out P1Harmony Theo X Studio Choom Fancam. I'm so excited because this performance is just cute. It's just a fun time. Even though Theo has like so many ties on, like you need one max. And for some reason, the ties were a thing in this styling. But I'm sure it's going to be a really cute performance. And I like having moments to just focus in on each of them performing. So I'm very excited. Already, the cuteness factor, and nothing has happened yet. It's fine. I don't know what they're gossiping about. I love that they're just like playing off it. See, too many ties. The little like chest movement on the beat. I love that you cover a bunch of ground to get into the spots in this, right? Of this choreography. And it's definitely not the craziest choreo that P1Harmony's ever had, right? Like they have some performances where they're just covering so much ground, and this is like definitely not one of the most difficult ones because it's supposed to be like more of a fun upbeat one. But I love that he's really hitting on these like percussion beats. It makes him blend really well with the rest of the group, but it just adds a little bit of a snap to the performance. And I think it's also good for performance in general. Like this one is in front of cameras, but if you're performing on a stage, you need to put a little bit too much into your movements because it needs to translate to the audience. So I like that even though he looks like this is easy work for him, which I'm gonna decide not to get talent aggression about, I like that there is that extra snap to his movements. Like really big on that elbow move. Smooth. I love that too, activation on the shoulder. There's there's just little footwork that he's smooth with there too. See, that was good. The way that he's shifting his weight on his toes. I'm sorry, he just got into position like the most polite way possible. It's so cute. I'm sorry, I'm not accessing nose. Maybe it's the sweater vest. Still my favorite move. I find that really interesting too. So like I was saying before, he has like a little bit of extra snap in some of his moves. There when he was on the edge of the formation though, he like pulled it back just a little bit. I think it's a little bit difficult to tell because we're doing different moves. It's not like I'm comparing the chorus choreography to itself at different points in the performance, but it feels like he dialed back a little bit because he was further back in the formation. He's at the edge. He's not the center. Whereas before, I think he was just behind. Was it Jung who was like singing, or like it would be his part if they were doing live vocals? So he's gonna be in frame for that. You need to put a little something into your movements, backing up the person who's center at that point. Whereas when you're at the edge of the performance, you need to let the focus be at the center. So I feel like it's interesting that we get him dialing back a little bit. Really, like, his footwork is standing out to me though. I think it's just really smooth how he's shifting his weight, which is like this tiniest thing. You're talking about like footwork, but I do find it fascinating, just the smooth, because there are some people who like do fast footwork or really clean footwork, or they put a little bit of an extra like groove or something into it. And Theo's just feels really smooth. There's almost this kind of floating feeling to it because he's really smoothly like shifting his weight. And I think that's fascinating to me, which is probably not something that most people would be distracted by. He's pretty smooth in general, but I love the little pictures too. Ooh, interesting there too. Like he's in the back of the formation doing a great job. You need to take up a lot of space. I think for someone like Theo, that kind of works out because he's like long limbed in terms of a dancer, right? But it works out when you need to fill in a formation, especially at the back, because he has the wingspan for it. So when you get those like full extensions in the arms and stepping out with the legs and stuff, I think that he does a good job of filling in that space of like almost creating like a backdrop for the performance, as opposed to like when he's more center and you get some of those like more smooth movements and like personality to the way that he's performing. But there's a little beat there where he like sets between the two of them when we're switching formations, and like I feel like the only reason I'm noticing it is like, one, performance background, and two, I'm focusing on him, right? I would not have caught it in a live performance. Like obviously with the Studio Choom full performance, there's still like camera angles and like cutting between different things, so like you can get around some stuff, but it seems like he's letting the formation move around him maybe a little bit, and it's just like a mark kind of thing, like making sure he's on the right mark for it. Good moving backwards too, like not getting in the way for that. Sorry, I gotta start my junk stuff for a second, but like again, he's just really smooth with the way that he shifts his weight, which is fascinating to me. Maybe just because I'm not very good at that. I think it's so he wasn't gonna walk into Theo, maybe. He's in the back of the formation for quite a bit of this. I don't know if I noticed, which again makes sense. He can kind of fill in the space well. Interesting too. Okay, I'm curious about one thing. Yeah, see, okay, like I was saying, he's long-limbed, right? Here's part of my thing with that. The dance move that I love with the pointing on the percussion beat, which is probably why I'm noticing it. But I went back just to see, because I was like, I feel like he bends his elbow a lot more than what I've seen from the rest of them, or what I've noticed at other points. And I think it's because he's trying to match the shape of the formation, right? Like how he fits into the formation, because he bends his elbow more than the others. He's also in the back. Like Jungsub's almost locked his elbow, but not quite. Probably helps with some of the snap to his movements too. See, that's so good. Like I was saying, some of the snap to his movements is really good. He's good at creating kind of an environment for this. Cute smile. I feel like he's trying not to laugh at multiple times during this, like the beginning. And now we're cutting between performances, but... Okay, hands in the pocket. Okay, cool guy, relaxed. But I notice how much he's in the back part of the formation, which again, like I said, if you can fill in the space, he's working to make an environment for it, which I feel like is maybe like a weird way to describe it, especially if you're not someone who's in a performance. But a lot of the time when you're not the focal point of a performance, your job is to maintain the like energy or feeling of a performance. And I feel like he's doing a lot of that to like make sure that the back of the formation, like I was saying, we get like full extension on some of his like arm movements when he's trying to keep up. There's more like energy to that in terms of seeing a whole formation or like filling in the space at the back of the performance, especially in a setting like this where they don't have set pieces or like screens or anything going on behind behind them, right? They don't have any graphics that are backing up the performance. So you need something that's going to be like filling in so it doesn't feel like there's emptiness in the performance. So I feel like he's doing a lot of that. And then the little section there with the bridge helping make this moment, right, of them all moving with these like harder stops on it, like obvious activation of some of these movements, is doing a really good job of putting a focal point on that part of the performance. It's very different from the rest of the choreography, but he's also not supposed to be the center of attention for it. So again, I feel like he's doing a good job of letting the energy be where the person in the center is, and then when he is center, we get all these like really smooth little intricate parts to his movements of the like hand kind of details and the little bit of footwork of him shifting his weight like just on like the balls of his feet and like the toes, right? Like these little things that he's doing to like really smooth out his movements when he is the focal point. And I think that's I feel like very in line with kind of his persona, like stage persona, right? Theo is an agent of chaos if they're like playing games. But the moment that he is doing performance, part of his kind of persona is to be a little bit more controlled in the way that he presents on stage. But also his role within the group is that, right? Like his voice is usually used in these moments of smoothing out the song, right? All of the kind of hip hop rap inspired parts of P1Harmony's music, right? Obviously this isn't like the darkest sounding song that they've had, but Theo usually comes in for like pre-choruses and choruses and bridges, like these moments where he's smoothing out and lightening up some of the sound that is contrasting with some of the darker, rougher, grungier sound to some of their other stuff. It's just interesting to me to pick something where it isn't such an obvious contrast from the rest of the performance, that he's still managing to bring in those nuances of he's intentionally dancing with this like smoother feeling to the choreography when he's the center, because that fits with how he's supposed to function within a lot of the songs. And I'm fascinated by that. As someone who's been listening to P1Harmony for a long time, I'm just like, I don't know if I've ever focused in, I don't know how many fan cams I've watched of them, because I do love getting to see their full choreography. Like I've rewatched a bunch of their dance practices from all the way back from like Siren, but I don't know how many fan cams I've watched. I've seen performances. I don't know, maybe it's just there's that high contrast that's happening, so there's less of the kind of shock of seeing like Theo is like this calm in the storm within the songs, but it's still there though. Intricacy is still like the way that Soul was performing, like a bounce to the way that he performed. I feel like Jungsup had the snap to his performance all the time. There was the kind of this laid back feeling, but there was a lot of control to it, right? There was a lot of this, I don't know, like it's different. I don't know if I'm going to be able to describe it very well because I'm not a dancer, but I think it's fascinating that it's still standing out to me. Despite us switching from multiple edits. See, smooth back into formation. There was a little sass to that one. Hang on. I feel like the weight was shifted a little different for that one. A little something extra. Which makes sense, last chorus. And I think it's possibly a different take. And the politest ending. I like there was a little something extra at the end there. Which again, I feel like is again the way that he shifts his weight. It felt like there was a little bit, it's not exactly like the hips, but the way that he's shifting his weight is adding like a little bit of almost like a torque movement to the hips in it. Like it's this little thing, but he's just the way that the way he's shifting his body weight is how he's putting more emphasis into the moves, and I think that that's fascinating. I don't know if I ever would have thought of that in terms of like adding more energy behind a movement. I feel like a lot of the time we put in like speed, or like we focus on the stops of the actual focus of the performance, right? Like when you have a hand movement, you might put like more like speed or snap into it, right? The like a recoil on it, or you put more power behind it, so when you hit that hard stop it feels like more abrupt or whatever, right? Like you're usually focused on the actual movement, like the focus movement of that piece of choreography where the attention is supposed to be. But I feel like for a lot of that I was looking at other things because I know the choreography, right? Like I know kind of the focus movements, but I feel like with him, because when I watch these fan cams I try to look at things that are specific for the person that I'm looking at, and I feel like the things I was noticing were the nuances of other stuff. Like it's the way that he shifts his weight, it's the footwork, it's the way that he's smoothing out certain movements, which I think is fascinating to have some of those nuances that like you're not supposed to notice. Like, I don't think I was supposed to notice that he was shifting his weight, but I was supposed to notice that there was a slight shift in his whole body while he was doing those hard stops with the like finger, right, movement that were going along with the percussion, right? Like when the percussion hit, I was supposed to notice that there was some kind of shift happening with like his whole body, because that's like amping up some of the energy. But I don't think I was supposed to notice like how much of it there was, or even like the footwork, right? Like it's supposed to be, oh, he's moving really smoothly between the different parts of the formation. I don't think that, because the footwork is not like the big thing in this performance as opposed to some of their other choreographies, right? That's fascinating to me. I feel like I want to watch more. I would be fine with watching more Theo fan camps in general, but I feel like I really want to watch more of them because I'm like, is that a thing that he does and I just never noticed until this moment? What have I been watching? Always love when I check out one of these fan cams and I get to the end of it and I feel like I've noticed some specific thing about a performance. I really am fascinated now. Like I feel like I'm gonna have to go back and watch dance practices, and probably when I'm checking out performances I'm going to be looking for it now. Like I'm gonna be thinking about how he uses the way that he places his weight. I think that's fascinating. I don't know if I would have ever been that nuanced. There's obviously the way that someone balances, right, a piece of choreography, or I feel like the only time I notice someone shifting their body weight is when they're trying to correct their balance, or they're not quite meeting their mark within like the formation, right? So they're trying to figure out like, how do I actually move over so that the formation is balanced properly? And you can see them shift the weight on their feet so that they can take like a bigger step, or they can shift over during the next part of the choreography where they're not actually supposed to like take a step sideways, but they're gonna do it so that they can fix that. I think that's the only time I really noticed that. But with Theo, it really stuck out to me, and I think that's a fascinating way of like smoothing out his movements. And again, I think it's this weightless kind of feeling to the way that he moves through choreography, and I think that is very in line with how he works a lot of the time within their songs, is being this kind of counter to the like heavier vibe of the songs, right? If this was one of their grungier songs where his voice is supposed to be this like almost like ethereal sound in contrast to the grunge of the rest of the song, I think it would be really fascinating to zero in on what he's doing and the way that he's fitting into it. But I didn't notice how much he was in the back of the formation of all of this, but he does spend a lot of time like in the back, and it makes me a little bit sad. But I understand that every song's different, every performance is different. You have to figure out how to balance certain things and where people fit best into certain styles and all of that. But I didn't really notice. But I guess that's the point. I guess it's good that there are things I don't notice when I'm watching the full performance, because I'm not supposed to. If it was obvious, I think that would be more of a problem than when it's hidden until I'm actually focused and looking for stuff. But I hope you enjoyed watching that along with me. You can click this playlist to go to my previous reactions, or you can subscribe so next time I post a P1Harmony reaction. I will see you in the next video. Bye.